One shot, let's begin. I pulled out Excalibur by Nariyata. Translated upload by Reaper Scans and Electro Master quite soon ago. Alright, this is a promotional comic for a novel. Let's begin, everybody. I wanted to see the stars in the sky. But could I ever hope for such a thing? The sky there was nothing more than an underground ceiling. And all that lit it was the eerie glow of embedded crystals. Things as hopeful and bright as the sky or the stars were nowhere to be seen. Wow. That's the legendary hero, Arthur's sword. No. My teacher Ivan once told me something. I mean, Najin, it's not my place to tell others how to live their lives, but if you want to survive in this world, make sure just one thing. Live within your boundaries. Cross those boundaries, and life is bound to get messy. I learned that from my day in the slums. Don't even think about things out of your reach. Just be satisfied with what you have. Even a life without the stars can be pretty decent if you live diligently. I couldn't tell if you truly meant those words, but they were factually a reflection of reality. Dreams, hopes. Living means letting go of such impossible things. A life without stars. That's the perfect description for it. A life trapped in darkness with no way out. In a nutshell, that's what life there was like. Whoa. Did they just... Oh, these are two different people? Okay. I'll assume this one. So, you've been lurking in the shadows, pulling the strings all along. Huh? This is your end, Hakan? Uh, no way. Did you think I wouldn't be prepared for close combat? What? The Starblood faction, the gang I belong to in the slums. I'm an alchemist who specializes in blood. For me, this place is packed with countless minions. In other words, even the simplest alchemy unleashes immense power. For example, explode. Bam. Whoa. You broke Excalibur. How persistent. You still haven't collapsed and given up? I tried to finish things up while he was gone, but to think that his disciple, such a rookie, managed to take down most of my forces. Well, it looks like your sword finally broke. In your state, even if you wanted to keep fighting, there's no way you could. Once I've taken you down, I'll seize control of this underground city. In Ivan's absence, finally, I'll be on track to fulfill my dream. my dream of returning to the surface. Aw, just die already, you little brat. Don't worry. Ivan won't be far behind you. What do I do now? I have to keep fighting, but can I somehow hold out with this broken sword? No. I'll just get overwhelmed soon enough. Then rushing to the smithy. It's way too far from here. And without a weapon, I can't cut through all of them. Is there anything at all? Something that could turn this situation around. Or at least a weapon I could grab and fight with. Oh. Hey, you're not seriously planning to pull out that sword, are you? You're so stubborn. It's almost sad. Give up, kid. For hundreds of years, countless people, more people than the stars in the night sky, have tried and failed to pull out that sword. What you're trying to do is impossible. It's pointless. Going back to what Ivan says, it looks like he's already lost his mind. Boys, finish him off. Perhaps what others say is true. Living in submission, living an unremarkable life. Maybe that's not such a terrible way to live. However, if what you truly long for is right in front of you, even if it's impossible, even if it's foolish, even if I can't pull it, just for that dream, for that star, if I could just reach out my hand. What the hell? After leaving its master Arthur's hands hundreds of years ago, the legendary Holy Sword has been waiting for someone worthy all this time. You're telling me a kid like that pulled it out? Gasp. Oh, we all have dreams. Myself, the scum of the underground. Everyone who has fallen into this damn place. We all once dreamed of rising above, of engraving our own stars into the lofty night sky. In the end, we all crumbled and broke, etched with eternal scars. We fell into the city of sinners. All because we aimed for dreams that were far too grand. We saw the light, far too blinding. You'll crumble too, without achieving anything. That light is far too bright for someone like you to hold. you'll just flail around in the darkness, even in your dreams. In the end, lead here. I wanted to see the stars. Because I was desperate to know if I could ever reach them. Indeed. That is my story. Could I have dared to look at myself? I will carve my own star. What is that? In the night sky, the stars, they're resonating. Report this to the order. Dump, dump, dump. This is Arthur's constellation. Did someone draw the sword? Dump, dump. Excalibur! This was a promotional chapter for the web novel. Read the web novel on Reaper Scans. I pulled out Excalibur, a fantasy novel by Nariyata. Just clearing out my throat from there. This was good. I liked it. It's been a minute since I've read something like this that was pretty like straight. I guess Sheldon's a strong word. Straight like adventure. I think it's a good way, and it follows like a lot of the tropes, right? In chapter one, I'm not saying this is a bad thing necessarily. Right, like this guy, he goes eternal will and optimism. He goes and he fights a person. He's flashbacking to his master, giving him this life advice and saying stay in your lane, and then he chooses to not stay in his lane, right? And he chooses to go far beyond, and then you know, he gets put into a corner, and then Excalibur's there. So he aims for his dream, and his flashback is about chasing his dream, about capturing it, about doing that one thing that he wants to do. Because if it's right there, he might as well try. And then he goes for it. He beats the bad guy, and then everybody is awakened to the present. It's like, oh, something just happened here, right? That's, I think, a fair assessment of what just happened here. At least in terms of the plot. So, the main thing is, since this is a promotional novel, did this make me want to read the fantasy adventure novel? I mean, I'm curious if nothing else. I mean, my first instinct is his mentor is like a bad guy or something, just based on his design. And the fact he said, stay in your lane. There's probably going to be some twist about him being the bad guy, is my guess, as a lot of these things oftentimes go. I do like the art. Like, I like this character's design here. I like, this is clearly somebody related to whoever. This is fine, right? If we keep going, I like the design of the villain, and this is like really nice. I don't know how you read this on paper, would be my honest thing, because let me just try zooming out. Let me go to what is Control -2. Like, how do I reset my thing? Let's do Control. Oh no, it's on 100. Like from page to page, when I look at these things, it's like so. Is this supposed to be a 2-page spread, I guess? It's just done sideways. So do I turn my book like this, I guess? And this is just like it's not going as well on the main thing? I don't know. And I really like this scene of like Excalibur going like through the 9 things. And I going that seemed like a little bit harder to read on paper. And one thing I will say is that I don't know how the experience of voice acting this would relate to genuinely reading it. More so because is that like I feel like if I were to like really do this true justice, I would need to have a mini soundtrack, and I would need to have like a little special effects machine that I'm constantly playing right now as I'm like going through these things because I feel like a lot of the stuff that goes on here is within the like silent moments where you're supposed to hear that the like thumping of the heartbeat here or the sword effect. I don't know why I think it's supposed to come with sound effects, but I think it's supposed to come with sound effects. Like maybe Excalibur was supposed to come with sound effects in the original Arthur's Tale. It'd be kind of awkward if he was just making his own sound effects. And so I'm gonna assume the sparkle has sound effects. I'm gonna assume the sword has a sound effect. In fact, I think every fighter ever should make sound effects when they do things, especially swordsmen, so they go cling cling or when they're getting out the sword. Imagine if the person was like and just pretending his sword had like some sort of like aura or magic attached to it, right? I don't know who this character was. Um, like I think one of the things this thing does is it kind of does like where it starts at the beginning, um, and it gives us this big flashback, and then the battle kind of comes out of nowhere. I thought the Excalibur just kind of popped down there immediately, and it was kind of a sudden transition here, where like okay, Excalibur's there, and then they go in. Oh, okay, now they're in the middle of a battle. Okay, that was kind of sudden. Um, and I guess I don't know if the first parts were too necessary, but I guess to establish what Excalibur is, because not everybody would know that thing. Although I feel like that's in a very general cultural knowledge, but again, that's from like a Western perspective, right? Um, and then I think part of it too is that I think some of these lines, I think I read some of them wrong in the sense that I think some of them would read a little bit better if they were said by the villain more so than the hero. Like that whole thing about the other guy just wanting, so this is the pull for the stars, but as he has them here, we all have dreams here, far too grand. And this person says flail in darkness in the end leads here. I don't know if he killed the person like at that moment or if like he just pushed it forward here. Like, but I would love it if it was clear that the villain said this here. Like, hey, I wanted to reach for the stars, and then he did say indeed, and then he goes, indeed, that is my story, right? Like he's taking it away from the person, and yeah, and so I think this has a solid setup. I think that I would need to actually read it a little bit more to really see if it does things differently enough and it's just a well told story. This isn't a bad beginning. The art is fine. I enjoy it um, for what it is. This, I don't know if it makes me feel any particular strong emotion, but I could see some people resonating with this a little bit more, right? With like, chase your dream, it's right there, narrative. But it's been a while since we did manhwa. Let's see. Looks like they. I feel like I've heard I'm quitting the heroes party before. Wow, that's a lot. Good for them. Good for them. So solid manga. The pulling out the Excalibur is cool. Um, this guy looks like he's cooler on the cover and who he'll develop into. I guess if it was a fully promotional thing, if I were to do one thing differently about it, I would probably have a little bit of a later scene put into it, like where it shows him as full power, like where like this is my story, and then you see like a flash forward of him in the future, of him like saying like he's gonna protect everybody from the land or whatever, or he's like in his full garb, like are you ready to take on the threat? And then yeah, it goes there, and then through that could be the thing it ends on, or subsequently, it could be, you know, I guess this works better here, right? I think maybe you could rearrange this potentially to be like, oh, the stars are resonating. And then they go and You know, you could put this honestly, you could put this right when he pulls Excalibur too. Um, and then like it ends with him killing her, and then boom. I don't know if that's necessarily the best thing. The fact that I could like, oh my gosh, is this just like building blocks? Because this part, this is like um, this is a flashback. This could also go during pretty much anywhere, right? Up to like the swing part, right? Like you could just establish. You could have the chapter start here with Excalibur. That's the ledger here. Arthur's sword here. My teacher Arthur. Boundaries or whatever here. Boom. And then like then you could pull it to the fight. Or you could start at the fight and then do the backstory here. Or you could like, you know, do the fight here, and then you could even do the like backstory while this is happening here during the fight here. As he's saying whatever about Excalibur. Like you don't necessarily need to flash back, is kind of what I'm saying here. Is that like instead with the Excalibur thing here, instead you could put the like opening of it right here, and then be like, oh, okay, this is what he's chasing for, and then this is like what motivates him. And then when he touches the Excalibur, you could kind of pull it, and then you could go to the ending scene with the people, right? And then from there, like, oh no, who pulled Excalibur? He goes and he kills the person here, and you can flash forward. Actually, now that I think about this too, maybe I'm being maybe too bit of a harsher critic, but I like what I realize is that this story kind of builds on it, but not not necessarily. Right? I guess maybe he calls on the Excalibur swords, which alerts everybody, but if the subsequent moment somebody pulled Excalibur, you could really just do this part here and have that. And honestly, it might make a little bit more sense if this image comes later and then you pull to him and it's like, oh, that's where it's going to. So, if I were to offer one point of feedback, and this is just me overthinking it, because otherwise, if I would spend less time on this, I would have been like, generic, not bad. Let's see how it goes. Art's solid here. Did it just make me want to read the book? Not necessarily, but I think I could see an audience where it does. Um, I think the fact that I could just kind of move this around does kind of bother me a little bit. It's not like these things are directly affecting each other. It's like there's a hodgepodge. I could like shake, put like these ingredients in a bucket, shake them, and come up with some sort of orientation that is similar and just as effective, if not more, maybe mildly less effective. Who knows, right? Um, Maybe that's a point of feedback for the author, right? Is that, and maybe it comes across written better, but maybe this hodgepodge is why I don't feel too strongly about it. I acknowledge that there was a timeline here, but it's like they got flashbacks, they got the all is lost moment where like, oh, they're gonna die. They got the looking forward moment, they got the villain moment, they got the hype moment with like the dreams, and they just put them in order without necessarily thinking too much. And maybe this is me being too harsh. Again, I think the right assessment is this is solid, it's okay, and that's about it, right? I'd have to actually read it. This is probably a fine fantasy young novel, but this one shot doesn't give me a particular desire to read it. But you know, it is what it is. It's okay. So with all that being said, like, comment, subscribe, and thank you for being born, y'all. Peace out.